All right, hopefully you guys can hear me. I can see a lot of you are logged in to the Google Live. So it's a live event. It's a little bit different. It's still through Hangouts, but this way, hopefully everyone can get on and can see everything that we're going to go over today. Apologize for that. So hopefully everyone's getting settled in and you're able to communicate where it is we're actually meeting, so you guys can send the link to this to anyone. And also it is recording, so I will send this video to you guys at the end, and then you can share it with anyone who didn't get to attend or missed out. That way they can view it at any time. Do you have a question? I think right now you guys are all muted, and the chat in here isn't as obvious as the other one. I'm just trying to see where it is. But I believe you can unmute yourself. If you can't, let me see if there's a way for me to turn on chat. I don't see it. It's a little bit different than Hangouts because it is live. My email address, I'm hoping that you guys are a Google district. My email address is Cano, C-A-N-O, .harmony@pusd.us. If you need to message me through Hangouts, if you have a question, you need me to repeat something, you couldn't hear something, or I'm going too fast, feel free to message me there. There are quite a few of you, so I'm hoping I don't run into too many issues all at once, but that might be the easiest way to communicate at this time, just due to how many people we have in the Hangout. Let me make sure my Hangouts are open. All right, and hopefully you guys jumped into that Nearpod lesson. So the Nearpod lesson, I sent out a link. If you didn't get the link, that's totally fine. So what you'll be able to do is, if you visit Nearpod in this link right here, P as in Paul, V as in Victor, J as in Joe, O as in, gosh, I don't know, omelet, and E as in elephant. So if you put in that code, once you get to nearpod.com, and I can show you what that looks like. Nearpod.com. You don't need to log in or anything. Once you get there, there's this box at the top right here that says enter code, and you can enter that code at any time and you'll jump right into the lesson where we are. I see we have 53 people. And I'm sharing my screen with you, which is a teacher screen. So the preferable way to do this is to have 2 tabs open, and then what you'll do is you can go through the lesson as a student, and then when I want to point out features to you for the teacher, you can come back to that other tab where I am sharing my screen with you, and that way you can see the features that you would see on the teacher's end. Again, I gave out my email address, cano.harmony@pusd.us. I'm here in California in the Pasadena Unified School District. And I will leave my chat open so that if you guys have questions for me, you can just Google chat me, and hopefully I can get that information or answer your questions and get to that as quickly as possible, okay? Of course, it says something's not right. We are going to get started. I think we're good. It looks like we have a lot of people in the lesson. We've got 56 people. I think he said there were about 73 maybe total. So let's start. So I want to start off by saying welcome to Nearpod. I love Nearpod. I've been using Nearpod for 3 years now, and our district has been using it for 2, and we use it for a lot of different ways. It's a great tool to leverage for many different reasons. And so I'm hoping that I can give you some insight today as we go through Nearpod, our Nearpod lesson. So when you log in, you'll notice what's great about this is you don't need a projector. Your students get the lesson on their screen. And as the teacher, I have the ability to control what it is that they see on their screen. So I can bring them to a slide and focus them in on a piece of content or an activity that I need them to engage in. So that's really nice. I think with schools going one-to-one and leveraging and using a lot of technology, it's nice to have control, to know what it is that your students are working on or what it is that they're seeing, so that you kind of have a grasp on what's going on in the classroom and what your kids are doing. It's also great if you don't do a live lesson like we're doing now, but you just have a lesson where you give the students a code. It's great for differentiation. It's great for centers, homework, because then you still get that data as a teacher that you can review and go over on your own, and then you can reteach, or you can conference with the student and go over the information that you got from the lesson that they completed. We've also had teachers use it when they had a sub. So it's a great sub plan as well. You don't have to make any copies. The students get logged in, they know where to go, they complete the activity, the content is there, the activity is there, no excuses, right? So it's been really helpful for sub plans as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the features that we have in the features that we have for any lesson that you can either choose to use or not to use. And just so you know, all of the lessons in the library are editable. So you can add them to your library, and then you can customize them to fit the needs of your students at any time. So that's really great as well. All right, I'm just going to jump over to chat real fast to make sure everyone can hear me and that we're good. And then we will get started. All right, it doesn't seem that anyone has messaged me, so I'm going to assume we're good to go. But please feel free to send me a Google Hangout message if you get stuck. Also, I'll give time for feedback in the actual lesson. So this lesson is for grades 6 through 8. It's on volcanoes. They always start with a title slide, and then they'll tell you, like, what's the objective? What are we going to learn in this lesson? What are we going to do or accomplish? So that's great. Sometimes, though, I take this out of my presentation because sometimes it's information I don't need my students to have. So I will delete this slide, but it's always there, which is nice. So this is an interactive piece for you. On your screen, you'll see this question: have you ever visited a volcano? And your choices are yes or no. So please go ahead and select one of the choices and then submit that to me. I always tell my students, you'll know that you've submitted your work when Nearpod says thank you. So Nearpod's pretty polite, and it will always say thank you, and that's how you know you've completed the activity. Also, as the teacher, if you look at my screen, you will see the one that I'm projecting through the Hangout. You will see that I can see the students' names, and I can see the answers that they've submitted. I can also see percentages here. So I have 68% of my people who haven't answered anything. So that means they're not participating. So that's a good way to gauge of what's going on. And then I can give people a reminder. Like I have Lena. So I could say, hey, Lena, I really need you. Have you visited a volcano? Or I can walk over and make sure that that person's participating. Just a great way to check for engagement and understanding. The other nice piece about this is that I can share the results. So these are not individual results, it's for the class. This is a great way to engage them in conversation. But once I click on that share button on your screen, you'll be able to see what the class polled, what they said, how many people have been to a volcano and how many people have not. And then maybe we can talk about those experiences. So that's a really great tool. And then I can unshare that to bring them back to their own screen. So when I move them on, this is actually one of our virtual reality lessons. Really amazing. Students love this. So if you have VR viewers, if you're lucky enough to have that, you can do this with VR viewers, or if you have tablets, it's great on the tablet. However, we do this on Chromebooks in my district. So the students can just click on the screen and drag around. Now they're actually getting to view and feel like they're there and make some observations. So when I do a VR lesson with my students, I usually have a sheet of paper where they're recording their observations. What do you see? How do you think it feels? Do you think it's cold? Do you think it's hot? What are your surroundings? That kind of thing, so that they can list some observations. What do you think it would smell like? You know, are these clouds? Is this smoke? What do you think that is? So this is a great way to have them kind of document their observations from this virtual reality activity. The hard part is with this, transition your kids. I always get a lot of like, oh, Miss Dawson, why'd you move the screen? Because once I click here and I take them out of this virtual reality, it's always hard for them to transition. So I'm always giving them like, you got 5 minutes, you got 3 minutes. Okay, we got 1 minute, finish up your observations and move them to the next screen. If you are looking at my screen right now, not your participating student screen, but mine, it asks me, do I want this video clip or this audio clip to play on all their devices, or do I just want it to play on mine? Do your kids have headphones, or can you project this part of the lesson so that it's just up and everyone can see it all at once? So I'm going to say all devices because we're all in different locations. But as a teacher, I might say just this device, and I would project it so that I didn't have 15, 20, 30 computers all playing at a different time. Okay, so I'll say all devices. And what you should be able to do now on your screen is you should be able to press play and listen to the content, the information that it's giving you. Okay, so go ahead and press play so that you can listen to that.
Volcanoes are a mountain.
I'm pausing mine because you don't want to hear mine over yours. All right, so this is an audio clip. Sometimes they have videos and other pieces of media that they put in for content, but another great way to tap into different kinds of learning. So I'm going to go to my next slide. And I want you to go ahead and answer this question. What words do you think of when you hear the word volcano? So this is a short response. It can actually be long response, but usually with this, because you want to do a quick check, you don't want them to write too much. I had kids write no more than a paragraph typically. But go ahead and type something, even if you have a question for me. If you have a question or you can't hear, or great job. Thank you, Christina. So you can see, I can see answers right away. As soon as she submitted, it came up on my screen. Here's another great teacher tool. If you are looking at my screen that I'm sharing, it tells me the participation percentage. So this means 10% of my students have completed this activity. A real quick way for me to say, okay, come on guys, everyone needs to submit their answers. You know, real quickly, you want to make sure you get full participation, but you don't want it to take forever. So I can scroll. If you're looking at my screen, I can scroll. I think of lava and get out fast. Yeah, I would too. Run. That would be what I think of. Hot. Nice. Okay, so we can look through, see what our students are thinking. Love volcanoes. I think they're beautiful. Great responses. So we know what our students are thinking. We kind of get some insight into their perception or maybe some, former knowledge that they come into or perspective that they come into this lesson with about volcanoes.
Hey, Harmony,
I
a lot
don't
of
see
the
any
teachers,
questions.
can you hear me,
Teacher's
Harmony?
still not able to enter, saying it's full. Mark, can you see this? The Hangout's not full. It's unlimited for the live Hangout, the second link. So if they're still trying to join that first Google Meet, it won't work, but they should be able to get into that second one without a problem. I mean, we've had hundreds of people in it before. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Some people don't know there is a Nearpod we are looking at. Also, the chat is on the left. Oh, thank you. It's been so long since I've used it. I apologize. Let me take a look. Yeah, I'm not seeing the chat in the one that we're in now. If people are having a hard time getting into the Nearpod, please let them know that it's this code. So they can go to nearpod.com and just put in PVJOE. So I'll always have it on my screen for them, okay? I apologize for that. All right, here's another great feature. So if I have people who give these great explanations that I want to share with the class, or I think would be a good discussion piece, or even if it's, this is how not to do it, right? Because those are great teachable moments. I can click the share button. And now on your screen, you will see that person's response. However, what's great about this, I love how Nearpod has created this, is that it's anonymous. So yes, you're gonna have the student that's like, that's mine. I did that, whether it's right or wrong, they're gonna take credit for it. But this is a great way to anonymously share work without embarrassing a student or making them feel like, you know, they can't participate because they don't want the spotlight put on them. So a great way to share. So I can click through and say like, okay, this person gave another great response. I'm going to share that, and now that should be what's on their screen. So students love this feature. They love seeing each other's answers and work, and they love having discussion around that. So this is a great interactive piece. These are slides that students can manipulate on their own. So this says, did you know that? Now you can either scroll or you can click on the numbers that are on the left-hand side, and it will take you to the different slides. Great for vocabulary, great for content where maybe you want them to take notes. This is great for where you're like, okay, I'm controlling this lesson, but I want them to engage in these slides on their own. Then you would just make this slide deck that they can participate in. Okay, and they can control that at their own speed. Students really like that as well. Well, they like anything they can do on their own and control. This next feature is a website. So it will open up a website. Now, depending on which districts I'm working with, hopefully this isn't blocked for you. But what's great about this is, as an English teacher, I was teaching kids how to research and credible websites. So it was a great way for me to embed websites that I could take them to, and we could talk about what makes this a credible website. How do we know there's good information on it? This way you're not printing out, typing up, or waiting for them to type in a bunch of URLs. You can take that to take them to the website, and then they can engage. You can see that you're able to click on the different tabs and engage in the different pages. in order to interact with the content on that website. So really useful tool, especially for our little ones that we want them to go to websites, but them typing in a long URL can be difficult. So this is a nice way to send them to another location. Okay, so that's the website embedding. In the following video, you will learn what volcanoes are. And remember, I set those settings so that you guys could watch the video on your own screen already. So when I click over to another tab, it should be loading on your screen, depending on your internet connection. And then the students are just able to click play. I always recommend, though, I always have some questions or some guided note taking that I give my students for this part. Or I can have the next slide have questions on it that kind of check for understanding so that I can make sure that they're not passively watching, that they're engaged in the video. So go ahead and click play on your screen. Right, so this is just pulled from YouTube. It gives them some visual of what it looks like when a volcano erupts. But you might want to watch this whole class because the reactions might be worth talking about. I'm sure this is amazing for them to watch. Okay, so Nearpod is being able to embed those videos. You can see what's nice is this is a YouTube video, but there's no ads. So it strips it of all the ads, the what to watch next, and all of that stuff so that kids don't get distracted on other things that they want to look at. Or, oh my gosh, I'm at YouTube. Let me search my favorite song or the latest Taylor Swift song so I can listen to it. So it really helps keep them on task. And then typically there's an accountability piece that goes along with whatever it is that they saw on that video. So I'm going to go ahead and pause that. If you are looking at my screen, I'm going to change the student screen, but you can see down here, it shows I have 75 people, but it's red. The red is telling me that there are people that have gone to another tab or have left my lesson. So my green means they're on task, they're in my lesson, and the red would mean they're somewhere else. They're doing something else. So they're not participating and engaging in what I'm doing. You can see I have multiple names. I have people who signed in here 2 times, so they probably shut one out and then logged in somewhere else, which is totally fine. But this is great because then it lets you know, especially kids are real tech savvy. They'll open up a new tab and they'll multitask and it looks like they're engaged, but they're doing something else. So when that little icon turns red down here, you know, oh, I have someone off task. Okay? Just a little teacher tip. So here's just another slide. And again, I suggest making your slides in like Google Slide or PowerPoint so you can, when you start making your own Nearpod, because you can make them pretty like this. It's really hard within Nearpod to create a real engaging, nice looking slide. They're pretty basic. So I always create mine in Google Slides and then I bring them over so that they look nice like this. They look professional. So now it's just going to go through pretty much vocabulary, like the three different types of volcanoes. I'm going to go through these pretty fast. And then this is one of my favorite activities. So the Draw It activity, this is great K-12. My seniors that I've taught love it. My kindergartners, of course, love it. It helps if you have a touch screen device. But there are many tools that you get to use on your image. There is a highlighting tool, there is a drawing tool, there's a typing tool, and you can even embed a picture, or you can do a Google search for a picture and embed it. Very interactive. So what it's asking, it says draw and label parts of a volcano. Use the image as a reference. So you'll see they or you guys have this image as a reference. So the ash cloud, so they would use this, right, with all the information and the correct vocabulary to then draw that on their slide. So go ahead and try that draw it activity for me and submit yours. And again, as you turn them in, remember you got to keep hitting submit until it says thank you. And as you turn them in, I will actually be able to see them on my screen. I have so many of you. There we go. So Heather, thank you for submitting. And go ahead and try multiple tools. So a lot of you are using the Draw It tool. I think, Jesse, you also use the typing tool maybe? Yep. So you use the text tool, depending on what kids are labeling and doing. And you can move stuff around. So like I could label lava and then I could drag it over here. So that way my labeling could be done by text, but then I could draw what it was that I was labeling on there. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, guys. So great job. Look at me, I'm walking on a volcano. Awesome. Now, just to keep in mind, when kids want to add images, they are able to do a Google search. So depending on your filters, that it differs on what comes up district to district, depending on how you guys filter your Google search, because that's what it's attached to. So I always just tell them, like, you can actually ask them to go back in. They can push the back arrow on their browser and they can go back in and fix it if you feel like it's inappropriate. Luckily, nobody else can see it, right, until you share it. So I'm going to give you guys about 15 seconds to submit. And then I'm going to show you the teacher shared tool for this activity. Okay, so go ahead and take the last few seconds to submit.
What can the kids do while after they press submit and they're waiting? Like, what do they do they see anything else or can they do anything else?
Okay, so again, like some of our other tools, if you guys switch over to my presentation, I am able to click on a student's piece of work and then I'm able to share it with the whole class. Again, it's anonymous. So this is also a great way where we can talk about, okay, is this ash cloud? Is that where it belongs on our chart? And it's also a great way. They love to see this part, the art that their classmates make. They love this. The only time I ask if students don't want something shared is when they use the picture tool, because it allows them to take a picture of themselves or something else, whether it's like work. Maybe they're doing a written portion. You want them to take a picture of it and turn it in. I've had teachers use this for labs. And then for the draw it, they use the picture tool to turn in their lab sheet. I always ask before I share when it involves a picture of them, because you know how students can be sometimes. So, but otherwise I'll share it because there's no name, but they don't mind claiming them again. So I can scroll through all of the work and then I can choose what's going to be shared and what's not going to be shared that will help drive conversation in the class. Okay, so that's the draw it activity. And now I'm going to have you engage in a quiz just to see what the format is like. So no judgment on right or wrong, because I didn't do a good job of teaching you guys about these volcanoes, but go ahead and go through the 4 questions. There are 4 questions on this, and then you have to make sure you click next and submit until it says thank you. If you don't do that, then I won't get all of your answers in. So get used to Nearpod saying thank you. Students always forget to submit for the last time on their quizzes. And you can see once you're done, hop back over to the tab where I'm sharing my screen. It's really great because you can see right away my green letters signify that the student has gotten it correct. So like, Lena, you are my overachiever. Look at you. You got 100%. And you were like the first one to turn it in. So she has all green. And then it tells me 4 out of 4. So the red indicates incorrect. The green indicates that it is correct. The dashes mean they haven't given an answer. And the block tells me what question they're on. So a lot of real-time information I'm getting, right? And then I can scroll through, and then I can also see here what percent is correct, what percent is incorrect, and I have 75% that have not been answered. Okay. So really nice way for me to check for understanding as a teacher and for my students. So at this point I can say, okay, I think I really need to reteach some of these concepts. Or, hey, it looks like everybody's doing pretty well. I think we're ready to move on to the next activity or next idea or next concept. So a really nice way to check for understanding and for effective teaching on the fly. Now, what's different here is you see, if you're looking at my shared screen, you'll see that there is another share button. When we did that poll at the beginning of the activity, it shared everybody's kind of combined answers, right? But for this, when I click that share button, you're only going to see your answers, so how you did. And then if you scroll down, you'll be able to see which questions you got right, which questions you got wrong. And if you got them wrong, it will tell you what the right answer is. So a nice way for you and have those, oh, that was the answer. Ah, I should have known that. Now, you don't have to share that information with them. If you're planning on reteaching or you want to reassess them and you don't want to give them the right answer, you don't have to. But just keep in mind that when you do share, they do get to see that information. So our next slide for volcanoes, favorite, and it's pretty new. So how are you most excited? Would you like to, oh no, I don't want to approve your comments. This allows you to approve them before they're posted to the class, but I'm not going to do that with you guys. Depending on your class climate culture, you can decide if you need to approve them first. How are you most excited to use Nearpod? So go ahead and share with us on this board how you think this will be helpful for your students. Do you think it will be engaging for them? Do you think it will be good for differentiation? You can pick through lessons and differentiate. You can support your GATE students. You can support your students with IEPs, or to fill in holes that students just might have in their learning and concepts. Do you think you'll use it for homework? Or for sub plans when you have a sub in the class so that they don't lose that learning time? How do you think you will use it? So this is friends, thank you for using the pictures. Usually I have to say, guys, you can embed pictures. So that was great. And you can see they've embedded some social media, right? Like we need to teach our kids how to engage positively with each other. So I can't give anyone a thumbs down or I don't like this, but I can come and love. So it's a great way to reinforce the fact that we should be building people up, right? And not tearing them down. So I can only say positive things. So you can read your colleagues' posts and you should be able to like them as well. Give them some positive feedback, positive reinforcement. Here's some nice features. If you've posted and you're looking at my shared screen, as the teacher, I can look at this by most recent or by likes. maybe I had them like something to vote, right? So I could look by likes. Which post is liked the most? Of course, the friends one is, right? Also, you'll notice on my screen, I can see names. On your screen, you don't know who posted what. A great way for students to share what they know or their experience or their opinion in a safe way. So I can have a conversation with them if I need to, or I can identify who is responding in what way, but the students can't identify each other. I can also share this. So some of you may be thinking, this is great. I could use this for a lot of different things in my classroom, but then when we leave the Nearpod, I don't have access to it. There's a link to it. I've also printed mine. So I've emailed it to myself, and then I've printed it and hung it in my classroom so that we could revisit concept or idea or brainstorming we did on this board. So yeah, it's done digitally, but then you can keep it as a physical piece of, content in your classroom or a reference piece in your classroom. Okay, so this is Collaborate. Love, love, love this tool. Great tool. This is just the end. At the end of every lesson in Nearpod, you'll see a thank you slide. And so this is actually really cool. Like, this person's camping on a volcano. So now what I'm going to do is walk you through, and you have your credits. What I want to do before you get into this form, this thank you for learning with us and feedback, I want to show you, if you go to the screen that I'm sharing, I want to show you two other tools here. So at the bottom here, if I click on this as a teacher, I have the ability to skip items. So like, this is a website form. Thank you for participating. But I may say, you know what, I want to skip that, and I really want to engage you guys in this sway. So I can just skip those slides and decide what it is that you're going to see next. You may have a good lesson with a lot of content, but you're like, my students don't need this right now. We're just going to move on to the next thing. And you can skip around within your slide. Okay, is another activity that's interactive that students really like, because once it loads, they can control the interactive pieces that they view. There are pictures, there are GIFs, there's audio sometimes, and different things for them to interact with. So like, they can click on this. The other piece that I'd like to share with you is the add activity. So this is when you're in the middle of a lesson and you think, oh my gosh, I should have added this, or we should do this. This add activity allows you to enter in a website, a question, a draw it, or a new slide, or a true false on the fly. So in the middle of your lesson, you're like, hey, I want to do a true false check for understanding, or I want to do a draw it based on conversations, my kids are having in class. On the fly, I can create this. So I will just create it to show you. I think Nearpod will be fun for my students. And then I just say share. And then on your screen, in your student screen where you're logged into the lesson, it will have you respond just as if it was another slide to answer true or false. Okay, so that's just something that you can do on the fly, last minute, like, okay, our conversation is going in such a way that I think this would be a good piece to add. It's not letting me share it with you guys. All right, for the sake of time, I'm just going to say yes. Okay. And a couple other activities before we go, just so you know they exist. Within Nearpod, this is the 3D. So still to move and manipulate their view here. And it can be different things. It has like cells and like a heart and other objects that you can choose for the students to interact with and look at. And I think you can get closer, but I'm not sure how. So they can zoom in and look at the Earth. So pretty cool. These 3D objects are really cool. Another option that you have is the fill in the blank. So students will have their words at the bottom and be able to drop them where they go up top. Pretty simple, a nice little review activity for students. And then they have the memory test, which I hear they're going to make better, but it used to be, and I think it still is right now. So it's just pictures right now. I know that they were talking about changing it so it could be like a word and a definition, or a picture and a word, or a picture and a definition. Because right now it's just a brain break. I don't feel like I could use this productively. It's more of like, okay, we've engaged in a lot of content. Go ahead and do your memory test, you know, as a review, and there's pretty pictures for you to match, right? Not really productive, because whatever you enter for one image is the second image. You can't differentiate for the cards that match yet. Okay, so that's the memory test. I'm almost finished. I know I'm 3 minutes over. I'm so sorry. You can also now put in GIFs so that you have, you know, the animated pictures. And I believe, oh, this is a PDF viewer. So now you can upload files and different things for students to engage in, so they could view this glossary that might be from their textbook. Interactive, very powerful tool to leverage with your students in your classroom. And I hope that you enjoyed that overview. I apologize for the shaky start and not being able to get you guys all in at the same time, but I hope you were able to get in and learn and participate. If you could, before you log off, if you could just fill out this feedback form for Nearpod so that they have some feedback about your introduction and training, that would be great. Be sure to email this, since it's recording in the YouTube Live, the Hangout Live, I can email this to your representative so that they can send it out for anyone who wasn't able to participate. Okay, and I will also send the code for the lesson for anyone who wants to go through it as just a student pace lesson. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I enjoyed going over this with you guys today, and if you have any questions, please let me know. My email is cano.harmony, HARMONY, @pusd.us, and I'm more than willing to answer any questions or give you any support that you might need through this process. So enjoy Nearpod. I hope you enjoyed as much as we do, and have a great day, everyone.